Hello, my name is César Torres and I will talk about globalization and interculturality. This presentation is divided in 4 topics: the introduction, globalization, interculturality, and finally the conclusions. So let's start with the introduction, where I can show you some brief video about globalization.
Every day, we knowingly or unknowingly experience globalization, the worldwide movement of people, ideas, money, goods, data, drugs, weapons, computer and biological viruses, greenhouse gases, and more. This isn't new. People and goods have always moved around the world. The Silk Road, a network of trade routes stretching from the Mediterranean Sea to East Asia, facilitated the spread of fabrics, spices, art, weapons, technology, ideas, and disease over thousands of years. What is new, however, is the scale, velocity, and range of these flows across borders. Think about the speed at which an infectious disease like Ebola or Zika can spread around the world, or the reach of a financial contagion like the crisis of 2008. Look at your smartphone and think about the global coordination it took to produce. The interconnectedness of the modern world allows ideas, behaviors, styles, products, and news to spread more quickly and broadly than during any other period of history. But globalization's effects are complex. What represents an upside for some people might represent a downside for others. Technology, for example, allows billions of people to contact friends and access news from around the world. International supply chains, the networks that turn raw materials into finished items, produce and distribute goods more quickly and cheaply than ever. But the pace of technological innovation has also led to the automation of manufacturing processes, which eliminates jobs. Trade is another example. Between 1970 and 2015, global exports and imports of goods each multiplied more than 50 times. More imports lead to increased consumer choices and reduced prices, and more trade can strengthen ties between trading partners and promote peace, security, and growth. But more trade opportunities and technological advances mean many corporations choose to shift their operations to countries where the labor and natural resources are cheaper. And the individuals and companies that can take advantage of international resources experience outsized gains, which widens the growing gap between the rich and the poor. The effects of globalization, both negative and positive, are a reality. No one can opt out entirely. But governments have many options for responding. They can choose how open or closed they want to be towards trade, investment, visitors, immigrants, refugees, internet traffic, and more. Governments can also contend with globalization through collective rather than national responses. A set of international institutions and other arrangements has emerged to manage globalization. Although some countries view globalization as a threat to local identity, culture, or social and political norms, no country can be entirely self-sufficient. The challenge is for individual governments and the world collectively to promote globalization's benefits while effectively helping the individuals and countries that globalization hurts the most.
Well, now let's talk about globalization. What is the definition of globalization? Globalization is a historical process of global integration in the economic, political, technological, social, and cultural fields, which has made the world an increasingly interconnected place. In that sense, it is said that this process has made the world a global village. The progressive dissolution of economic and communicational borders has generated a capitalist expansion. This, in turn, has enabled global financial investments and transactions aimed at distant or emerging markets in terms that were previously very difficult, highly expensive, or unfeasible. The process of globalization has modified the way in which countries and subjects interact. It has generated a great impact in economic aspects, such as working market, international trade, political aspects such as establishment of democratic systems, respect for human rights, as well as greater access to education and technology, among others. What are the characteristics of globalization? The most important characteristics of globalization are the following. It's a planetary phenomenon, so it manifests itself all over the world. It's universal because it covers all aspects of human and social life. It's unequal and asymmetric, since it has very different repercussions depending on the level of development of each country and its share of world power. It's unpredictable because its results cannot be anticipated. Depends on connectivity and telecommunications. Supposes the spatial reorganization of productions. Globalized merchandise and favors the uniformity of consumption. Creates a global financial model. And what are the types of globalization? Well, we have 5 of them. Economic globalization is the creation of a world market that does not contemplate tariff barriers to allow the free capital movement, be it financial, commercial, and productive. Political globalization has fostered the creation and development of different mechanisms to respond and solve endless problems that have become global and affects us all. Some examples of these are climate change, poverty rates, use of natural resources, among others. Technological globalization includes access to information, the internet, and the media, as well as the various technological and scientific advances in the industrial and health areas. Cultural globalization has been generated because of international partnerships and the exchange of information technology, economy, tourism, among others. Social globalization is characterized by the defense of equality and justice for all human beings. Taking this meaning into account, it can be affirmed that a globalized world in the social sphere is one in which all human beings are considered equal, regardless of their social class, religious belief, or cultures. Now, let's move to the second topic, that is interculturality. What is the definition of interculturality? The word interculturality refers to the equitable exchange and communication relations between cultural groups that differ according to criteria such as ethnicity, religion, language, or nationality, among others. As a matter of principle, the term does not recognize the superiority of one culture over another, regardless of the majority or minority relationship. Interculturality aims to build a more democratic society by visualizing, describing, and equally valuing the modes of appropriation and re-elaboration of meaning between different groups. The UNESCO refers to this concept of its websites as the existence and equitable interaction of the diverse cultures and the possibility of generating shared culture expressions through dialogue and mutual respect. What are the principles of interculturality? Interculturality supposes the application of a series of principles, which makes this a complex concept. Between them, we have the recognition of citizenship, the recognition of the right to exercise the original identity of the people, rejection of the forms of imposition in the hegemonic culture and marginalization of the minority culture, understanding of culture as dynamic phenomenon, horizontal communication. And what are the stages of interculturality? Well, the re-education is necessary because we have to involve in this interculturality. And all education have a methodology. Interculturality must also follow roughly a series of stages in order to achieve the objective. They are mutual respect, implies knowing how to recognize each other as equals in the exchange scenario, recognizes otherness, exercising and allowing free expression and knowing how to listen to each other. Horizontal dialogue supposes the establishment of relationships with equal opportunities relativizing one's one point of view. Mutual understanding refers to the empathic disposition to understand others. Synergy focuses on aiming for results where diversity becomes strength. And now the conclusions. The process of globalization has been a process that has not been given for a short time. On the contrary, it has taken time and has not yet been fully completed. Like all changes, this presents positive and negative aspects, challenges that are met and others that remain to be met. Globalization has the potential of supporting development through providing opportunities for higher incomes and living standards through enhanced cross-border economic interaction. However, globalization will not automatically distribute the benefits of this interaction equitably. Interculturality is a possibility of dialogue between cultures and needs to exist in the mediation of relationships between countries. Interculturality is a form of communication that aims to share information across different cultures and social groups. Well, now some questions from the audience. What are some positive effects of globalization? Well, we can mention increased freedom, wider variety of goods and services, lower prices, higher quality of goods. Another question, what are some negative effects of globalization? Well, we can mention job loss due to the foreign competition, increased environmental damage because of the increased industrialization, among others. And the last question is, what is the importance of interculturality? Intercultural communication is incredibly important to breaking down cultural barriers and building awareness of cultural norms, as well as enhancing self-awareness and communication skills. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for your attention and goodbye.